This week on Archery 101, another test of the common wisdom in archery. We're going to test, is there a difference for the trad archer between 3, 4, and 5-inch feathers? Hey everybody, welcome to Archery 101. I'm your host, Greg Richards. Alright, 3 versus 4 versus 5-inch feathers. I've heard this many times from many sources. People will tell you it makes a big difference. Some people say it makes no difference. Don't know. I've only shot in mainly 5 and 4-inch feathers. Why? Everything I do is based for a reason. It's because it shows up better on camera downrange. If I do a slow motion, I can get more of the 5-inch feather than I can of a 3-inch feather. But I heard a lot of people talking about it, and with my indoor archery, it's making me curious, is there a difference? So I decided to test it, and I came up with some tests. But first, let's cover the arrows and the bow and all that. So I'm going to use my Carbon Express Predator 2s. These are 800 spine, full length. Here's my 5-inch feathers. I got a 75 grain point up front. Pretty simple arrow. Then I have 4-inch shield cut, same arrow. Now I did change it up, which I know if I really wanted to be scientific, but there's no way for me to do that, and I'll be in a second. So I got 3-inch parabolics, and you can see there is, I'm going to take a picture of it and I'll put it right over here. There is a huge size difference between 3 and 5 on the overall. So will that make a difference? Well, your mind says yes. Your mind's telling you, yeah, it's got to make a difference. Bigger. I don't know. I'm not big into aerodynamics. All right, so let's talk about this unscientific thing. This is totally unscientific. Why? Because I don't have a controlled environment. I'm going to be doing some of it outside. There's ambient air temperature, there's wind, there's all different stuff that can get involved in it. Lighting, blah, 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 blah. Nobody that I know of does really pure scientific testing. All right? If you're going to do it, you have to have the exact same conditions on everything. So, enough of that. So what test am I going to do? Well, first one, we're going to talk about speed. Does a 3-inch fletching fly slower than a 5-inch? Now that's easy to do. I'm going to put it on a chronograph. Pretty simple, right? Then I'm going to test them for accuracy. Does a 3-inch impact differently than a 5-inch? A little lower because of more drag, or maybe off to the left because different spine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot a NFAA target 20 yards away. Pretty good with that. Should be able to make some good judgments. I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to record where each one hits. Then I'll be able to look at the data and we'll be able to see. If all my 4 inches landing here, all my 5s are here, tells me something, right? And then I'm going to go outside and do the same thing for 40 yards. Let's see if we double the distance. Will we get a difference at 40 yards? And then finally, we're going to test the distance one. I'm going to go out in a nice open field. I'm going to pick a spot in the trees, put my arrow on it, focus on a good release, let it go, and we're going to measure the distance. Let's see which one flew farther. So that should answer that question about more drag, less distance, changing things like that. And the final one is the spine. And I can't test the spine. Why? Because it's a dynamic spine, and 1, I don't understand it. 2, I wouldn't know how to test it. But I'm going to take all my data, and if I do see a pattern forming, that could lead some credence to what they're saying. So that's what we're going to do. Those are my basic tests. Those are my arrows. My bow I'm going to use is a homemade bow that I made. It is cut past center. It's only 30 pounds. All right, and I've been playing with it. I thought this would be a good one because this is a bow I'm not used to, so I'm going to have to really focus on what I'm doing. All right, enough of my babbling. Let's get out there and let's do the first test, speed, with the chronograph. All right, everybody, here we are, set up. Hopefully I hit the bag, won't break no arrows. 10 arrows each, chronograph test. Let's see if there's a difference. All right, I'm going to shoot the 3-inch, 4-inch, then the 5-inch. These are cold shots, not warmed up, so the first ones might be a little off, but we'll find out. .163 for the 3-inch feather. Now the 4-inch feather. Got a slight headwind. $165. Actually, the wind's blowing that way. 5-inch feather. $161. All right, here we are set up for the second test. It's the target I'm going to use. It's a NFAA, National Field Archery Association, who runs outdoor here in the U.S. So I'm going to shoot one arrow at each. X, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, in case you don't know. Same thing on my clipboard, and I'm going to write down 3, 4, and 5. All we're doing is looking to see if we can find a pattern, all right? Again, I'm going to do 10 rounds. I don't have to do more, because I'm not going to drop the high and lows unless I really make like a bozo shot, and I'll just do it over. All right, let's get to shooting. All right, everybody, this so far has been a typical result, which totally surprises me. Had to play with it. You see that silver disc up there? If I'm about, put my arrow right about here, and I'm hitting down here with a 30-pound bow. 4-inch, 5-inch, 3-inch. Now, Most of the time they vary around but they're all within that at 40 yards, you know? So is it making a difference? I don't know. I got a lot more. I'm going to track it all. We're going to figure it out. Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing while I'm shooting because I'm so focused on trying to make perfect form and then get everything else going. But this is pretty neat. You know what? So far today, all these tests have brought up things that I didn't expect to see. And it's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to keep shooting. All right, for my last test, I got this open field here. I'm going to shoot, putting my arrow on the second level of the telephone pole up on, looks like an insulator or something up there. So all three of them be in the same spot. Again, I'm going to have variances due to my form, but we'll see how far they fly. I'm not going for max distance. My first practice, they were 72 yards, and that was on the first level, so I'm hoping to squeeze out a little bit more. I'm going to mix up the shooting order. Found that out in the other test. At the 40, the threes kept flying high. Then I realized I kept shooting them first, so when I switched it, the first arrow was always high. So it changed the whole test for me. So went back and redid the whole thing. So we'll try it here. No crawl, second level. I don't think they're going to go much farther than the other one. You'll see a piece of wood here. I put that up so I can use my rangefinder. I'll step at the arrow, shoot the rangefinder onto the block, and get my distance. Now that arrow actually flew down, well, there is a crosswind. Yeah, so let's not read into it, it's not there. Of the three, the 3-inch looked like it flew the best, but that don't mean a whole lot. All right, I'm going to keep working this test, see how it goes. So I've been out here, I shot about 5 ends so far, and again, something that totally blows me away, something I didn't expect at all. Not much difference in distance, that wasn't the thing, but the 3-inch feathers have a shallower trajectory. They're going down and they're hitting and they're skipping off the ground almost every time. I can see them hit and bounce, whereas my 4 and 5s aren't. My 4 and 5 are always within about a yard of each other, even less most times. But the 3s are bouncing almost every single time. They're bouncing off the ground, which means they got a lower final trajectory, which is something I never thought about. All right, let's see what we get this time. 5-inch. Hit some rocks, I think. That one actually looked a little low. All right, let's try this one. Ooh, same thing. I hear it's a lot of small gravel down there, but I didn't see a bounce. All right, 3. All right, go down, I'll take a look. It's interesting stuff though. I'm having a ball. This is pretty neat. You know, I'm seeing things that I never thought I'd see. Things I didn't even consider. Who knew? All right, everybody, done with the testing. I have to say I had a ball with this because things are coming up that I never anticipated, and it just threw me off. And I was like, wow, what? Never would have thought of that. So how did the testing go? Well, for speed, surprising result. I actually thought the 3-inch feather was faster. It just visibly seemed faster to me. Here's the speeds. 3-inch feather, 166.5 feet per second. Not bad. I was pretty happy with that for a 30-pound bow. 4-inch feather, 166.5 feet per second. Now that blew me away. I was not expecting that one. And then the 5-inch feathers, 165.7. So it was from the 5-inch to the 3-inch, there's a 0.8 feet per second difference. I shot 12 arrows. I subtracted the high and low so I get a better average. which left me with 10 for the average. So that shocked me. So is there a difference between 3 and 4? Nope. 3 to 5, not even a foot. So that was an interesting one. So how would that translate to shooting, right? So my 20-yarder, I shot indoors, and I had the NFA target. And the big thing I noticed was my 5-inch feather would kick up and go down. Every time it'd kick up and go down. Something's going on there with the 5-incher that wasn't happening with the 3 and the 4. And I did notice it on the chronograph, but with that little distance, you know, a few yards out, I see it kick out. So took me a little bit to get this bow down. I had to figure out how to shoot it. Once I got it down, I did pretty good. The 3-inch feathers, I got 5 X's, 2 5s, 2 4s, 1 3. That was me. I just chucked it. That was just stupid of me. The 4-inch feathers, I got 5 X's, 2 5s, and 3 4s. And for the 5-inch feathers, I got 4 X's, 3 4s, 3 5s, and 3 4s. Right? And that's how it went. So for me, it didn't really make a whole lot of difference. I could hit the white almost every end with a different feather. And I think more than anything else, which I firmly believe in, I have more influence on what's going on shooting wise at that distance than the arrow will. All right, I think that's just a big truth to me. So 20 yards, no difference. Now the 30-yard brought an interesting result from my shooting. My 30-yard, I shot the first 5 groups. Once I figured out where to put my arrow, I could put it in that little 5-inch circle. I could put 2 of them side by side, but the 3-incher was always like 2 inches above. And I'm like, man, this is a definite answer. Yes, it does shoot different. Then I thought about it. I was shooting 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch. I go, I wonder if it might be me. So I changed up the order, and I shot 4, 5, 3. And guess what? The 4s were high. So I did a couple ends of 5 4s and 3s. The 5-inch was high. So what I did is I started mixing them up. I just randomly draw and shoot, and almost every time the first arrow was higher than the others. So look, I could get them in there. It blew my mind in that one time, the 4 and 5 are side by side. The next end, the 5-inch and the 3-inch are side by side. The next end, it could be the 3-inch and the 4-inch, but almost every end, 2 of the arrows were side by side and 1 was higher. So I couldn't find a difference there. It could be there, but I couldn't find it in my shooting. All right. So the final one was long distance. This one was fun. And I found something that just totally threw me off, something I did not anticipate. And all I did was pick a spot up high, put my point on it, focused on trying to get a clean release. And I have to say, they were all, if you looked at a line, they were all nice and tight line. There wasn't one here, one here, and one here. They were always in a nice line. And 2 of them were always really close to each other, and the other one was slightly forward. So, what is it? Well, my 3-inch arrow had an average distance that it traveled of 75.6 feet. My 4-inch had an average of 74.8. And my 5 had an average of 74.7. So that's 0.08 and 0.09 distance difference. Now, what was the thing that shocked me? What I found, and it was a hard time doing this, I had a real hard time doing it, was my 3-inch feather had a totally different trajectory, a much lower, flatter one than my 4 and 5-inch. And it was so low, in fact, that on its downward angle, it was skipping off the ground. And it's a wet ground. It was skipping. I could see it sliding forward. And I didn't catch it till like the 3rd end. My 4 and 5 would go at a deeper angle when they'd stick in the ground. But that 3-incher would skip so many times. I had to go down there and pat the ground down, shoot, watch it skip, and go look for the mark from where it hit. It was really interesting. And that made me think, you know, I hear people say, oh yeah, the 3 inches, they fly different because I got to use a different aim point. I don't think it's an aim point from flying farther. It's just got a totally different trajectory that just threw me off. I watched it later on video, and it's hard to see it, but you could see the dot of the arrow for like 4 and 5 here, and then the 3 down here. It was really neat. Something I didn't think. That 3 doesn't travel much farther, but it definitely has a completely different trajectory. And that's it. So what's the answers? I don't know. You know what? I don't find a whole lot of difference. I do know that 3-inch feather has a totally different trajectory at long distance. Now, I don't shoot long distance much, and I found at the 20 and pretty much the 32, not so much. I think the 30, I really do think like the 3-inch feather is just slightly, maybe less than an inch more, but it's more about me. It is all about me executing a proper shot cycle. So my big takeaway is, unless you're doing field archery, long distance stuff, and even field archery, you don't shoot much past 45. There's a couple up to 65 and 75. That's one arrow. And I didn't find a whole lot of difference, so I wouldn't sweat it. And that's my whole thing. I'm not going to sweat 3-inch, 4-inch, or 5-inch. From what I shoot from 30 yards on in, makes no difference for me. All right? And that's what I was looking for. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, or it gave you something to think about. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time with an all-new episode of Archery 101.